Welcome back to Biohacked, the show where we break down the science behind the world's biggest health trends. Today's episode is on whey protein. Whey protein is everywhere, from our paneer to lassi, ice cream, breads, and even chips. It promises to build muscle, speed up recovery, but is whey protein a genuine science backed shortcut to better health? Or are we all just buying into some really clever marketing pushing us towards a protein paralysis? Okay, so first things first, before we can pass any judgment of whey, we really need to know what is actually made up of. Where does it even come from? Believe it or not, the story starts with cheese. Yeah, cheese. When milk is curdled to make cheese, we are left with two parts. The solid curds that becomes cheese, and then there's the liquid that's left over. That liquid, that's whey. For ages, it was just seen as a waste product, but it turns out about 20% of all protein of milk was hiding right there in that liquid. Now, here's what makes whey so special. It's what scientists call a complete source of protein, and this is a very crucial concept. See, our bodies need 9 specific amino acids. Think of them as essential building blocks of protein that we can't just make on our own. We need to get them from food, and whey, it delivers all 9, which makes it an incredibly effective tool for things like repairing tissue and building muscle. But how many of these building blocks do we really need? Honestly, it completely depends on who you are and what you do. Standard advice for a healthy but pretty sedentary adult is around 0.8 grams per kilogram of body weight. But for a serious active athlete, that number can be more than double, going up to 2.2 grams. Now, not all whey is created equal. When you're looking at the shelf, you're basically going to see 3 main types, and the difference is all about how much is being processed. Concentrate is the standard, a great middle ground. But if you're sensitive to lactose or you just want the purest protein, you can get isolate, which is filtered even more, packing in almost 90% of protein and almost zero lactose or fat. So, how did this cheese byproduct become the new obsession for everyone? Well, it comes down to its incredible efficiency at building and repairing muscle. And research backs it up. Whey is an absolute powerhouse for kickstarting something called muscle protein synthesis. That's the actual biological process of repairing and building up your muscle fibers after you work out. It means you get faster recovery, you hold on to more lean muscle, and there are even some really cool potential side benefits for things like blood pressure and blood sugar. The ingredient in whey that really stands out is an amino acid called leucine. You can think of leucine as an on switch for muscle growth. It is the main trigger for that whole muscle building process we just talked about. Whey protein is absolutely packed with it, and that is the huge reason why it outperforms other protein sources. We'll talk about leucine in the next episode. Okay, now that we have got a much more realistic idea of how much protein we need, let's start tackling some of the biggest myths out there, the ones that convince us to overspend on protein foods. The fear that protein is going to hamper your kidneys. The science is actually very clear on this. For a person with healthy normal kidneys, processing more protein just makes them work a little harder. But here's the thing, that's normal adaptation. It's not damage. Think of it like heart beating faster when you go for a run. Now the real risk, that's for people who already have kidney issues, because their organs just can't handle the extra load. And now for the holy grail of protein marketing, the simple idea that sells millions of tubs. It's really appealing to a simple thought, my biology is a little bit different. The truth is building muscle is a combined effort. Yeah, protein is important, but it can't win the game by itself. It needs constant exercise to signal that growth is needed, and needs enough total calories to actually fuel the building process. Plus, and this is the big one, there's a ceiling. Research shows that your body can't really use more than 40 grams of protein in one serving. Anything more than that doesn't provide any extra benefit. In the supplement industry, which is largely unregulated, there have been cases where deregulated substances have been found in whey protein. An investigation by the non-profit Clean Label Project tested 160 of the best-selling protein powders out there, and they found that nearly half, 47%, had levels of toxic heavy metals that exceeded safety standards. Independent testing have also found a whole disturbing mix of potential contaminants. Heavy metals like lead and arsenic, fungal toxins, pesticides, BPA from the plastic jugs themselves, and even industrial solvents. A similar study in India called the Citizens Protein Project came to a similar alarming conclusion. They called the widespread contamination from arsenic and lead a matter of grave concern. Now it's time we looked at the other side of the coin. For all the benefits, whey is not perfect for everybody, and taking it, especially if you're taking a lot of it, can definitely come with a few strings attached. Okay, the most complaints you'll hear is about indigestion. Because it comes from dairy, the lactose that's often in whey concentrate can cause bloating, gas, and just general discomfort for people with a bad gut. And the studies have also shown it can trigger or worsen breakouts, especially in people who are already prone to them. For people who are healthy, a moderate amount of whey is generally safe for your liver and kidney. But this is important. If you have a pre-existing condition with either one of those organs, that's when you need to be more cautious. Look, after hearing all this, it's easy to feel a little confused. But the good news is, there's a safer, more effective, and usually way cheaper to fuel your body. And it all boils down to a simple yet powerful idea: a food first approach. So here's your new strategy. 1. Build your diet around whole foods: chicken, beans, egg, yogurt. That's your safest bet. 2. Spread your protein throughout the day. That 13 to 15 gram per meal range is sweet spot for anybody who actually wants to build muscle and lead a healthy life. And 3. If you do choose to use a supplement, see proof that it's been tested by a third-party lab. And this whole food strategy isn't some new trend. It's the foundation of healthy eating all over the world. For instance, the Indian Dietary Guidelines 2024 are super detailed, breaking down food into 10 different groups. Western models like in the US or Australia tend to use broader categories. The methods are a little different, but the main principle is exactly the same. Create a balanced diet from real food. Real whole food is and always will be the safest and the most complete way to get your nutrition. It gives you fibers, vitamins, and all sorts of micronutrients that powders just can't match. At most, it should be a tool you use for convenience every once in a while.